Welcome back to the next video in our Canvas PD series. You'll note on the bottom right-hand side of the screen there, we have a bit.ly address for you to go ahead and type in to get access to all of our resources and videos from this entire year, the entire series. And do make sure that you capitalize the C and L there because it is case sensitive. I'm Carrie Kunert and joined by Chris Giles and Nicole Carter. We're all part of the digital curriculum team helping with Canvas implementation. We're going to be talking about a specific tool that's in our LTI series, which is TurnItIn. And it's actually a way for teachers to be able to check the grammar and that naughty plagiarism that students turn in work, and you got to make sure, is this legitimately theirs or not in their written work? So we're going to go ahead and show you how that tool works today and how it integrates right within Canvas.
It's very, very simple. We have the instructions, but when I say simple, I mean it really is simple. But then we're also going to show you what it looks like from the student's point of view and then back to the teacher's point of view. So as far as me creating an assignment, I already have one called TurnItIn. And the reason why is I don't want to go through the process, but when you create an assignment, again, what is the goal? Well, the goal is the students are going to submit to you an essay or a written response of some sort where you want to make sure that plagiarism has been checked and potentially even grammar, and that's totally fine. So for chemistry, I've had chemistry teachers and physics teachers have their students submit research or work done to that class. So it's not just ELA, and to be honest, it can be any course where you want students to submit. But same thing, create your assignment, create your instructions, point value, again, complete and complete. And it can be text entry. It can be a file upload. Those are the things that are okay. It cannot be a website URL because TurnItIn is not going to scan through a live Google Doc. So if your students are working on Google document, make sure you check the file upload, and that's totally fine. That will work just great. And again, just come down. I don't worry about attempts. Some teachers do. You can choose how many attempts you want. I don't care. And then right here, as soon as you allow text entry at the very least or file upload, this button will show up. So watch, I'll just show you quickly. So if I uncheck everything and just choose text entry, you'll notice that plagiarism review shows up instantly. So as long as you have one of those two choices chosen, the plagiarism review will show up. And then you just click TurnItIn. I mean, when I say simple, I mean, it's that simple. Click on TurnItIn, a window opens up. And what's great about this is you can leave it as the default. You can change it, you can leave it alone. The difference between storing it and not storing it. So if it's a first draft, I probably don't want my students to submit. If Nicole is my student and she's submitting a first draft and she just wants to see how she's doing, I don't want to store it because she's going to submit a final. But you can choose to be the student paper repository. Well, if you do the paper repository, it compares to everybody across the planet. So just be aware of that. And then of course, do I want to compare it to who? And you can choose, yes, I want it to be the whole entire student repository or not. And then you come down here, similar report is basically the report that TurnItIn tells you how much of the student's work has been plagiarized. That's the similarity report. And you can play with these. And again, on our instructions, we have information on what you can do to make sure the similar report works for you and how to read that. Yeah, go ahead.
To say a few things here. I think we briefly did not mention who has access to TurnItIn.
Yes.
Grade level wise. I think that's really, really important. So who has access in Beaverton?
So middle school and above. So if you're a middle school teacher or secondary teacher, you have access. There is no TurnItIn for K-5. So I'm glad you said that.
And then when you were briefly referencing the student repository, so that's meaning when I have that checked, that's meaning like I am now putting my paper in there so that if I had you as a student 5 years ago, and now I have your younger brother, and I've been using TurnItIn, if the younger brother potentially grabbed the older brother's paper and turned it in, it is comparing those two papers across the platform across the years. That's pretty crazy.
That's the beauty of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Because I think previously I just thought it was like web-based. I had no idea that it was like other students' papers as well. So that's.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Okay.
And the great thing too is if you're a classroom teacher and you're having your students submit to you, right, in the same classroom, it's called collusion. You want your students, you want to be aware, did one student copy of another student? unaware or intentionally, you want to be aware. And so in Turnitin, once you do choose, have a closing date, and that closing date is completed, Turnitin will run another scan that says, oh, you've got 2 students who submitted similar paper, and that's called collusion. And you should see evidence of that. And if you don't, it is sometimes a little hiccup that we do work with. But that is the goal. In the student repository, every paper submitted is going to be scanned.
We obviously have more information that goes into the nitty-gritty details of the analytics behind Turnitin and how to actually like use it, use those analytics. The main purpose here is just we're trying to show you how it integrates so beautifully with Canvas. But thanks. That's a little like side detour bird walk for me to learn a little bit more about Turnitin.
No, absolutely. And then the last thing I just want to mention is you can enable grammar, or you can simply not enable grammar. And I love this because as a classroom teacher, I would want my students to be aware of the grammar mistakes that they've turned in on their first draft. Let the students see that and then let them do the editing. And so you can go ahead and choose whichever high school, whatever dictionary level you want to choose, both UK and US. And yes, for our teachers out there who teach Spanish as another language, or that's the world language they're teaching, Turnitin does have Spanish, and we will make that on our slides because I forgot to add that. So it does scale that. Anyways, you can choose a save as default. You're done. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down and hit save. And then for this purposes, Nicole has already done the submission. So I'm going to hit stop share. And then Nicole as a student is going to go sew that part.
So yeah, so I wanted to show from a perspective of start to finish, what do we see? So we've already submitted, so we'll go into the submission details in a minute, but if I'm a student going in, I'm wanting to I picked the topic of narwhal. So let's say I want to do a thing on narwhal. I briefly did a Wikipedia search for narwhal. I'm going to grab this information and I'm just copying and pasting. So this could be, honestly, I think your direct instruction to the students would just simply be, even if they're working on like a Google Doc, right? You can just copy and paste off your Google Doc and just plop it right in here. We're just doing a quick look see. Okay, so then I do have to hit I agree, correct? And then I go ahead and hit submit assignment. Now I have already done this, so I don't necessarily want to get the ball rolling again. So I'm going to go ahead and click on submission details. And from here, this was the submission I did already, like yesterday or the day before. So Turnitin does take a little bit of time to like run those analytics. So again, I think from a teacher's perspective, have them submit, just know it's not going to give you a turnaround in like a second or two, like give it a little bit of time. Come back the next day, come back in a couple of periods, and it should be done running. But from a student's perspective, I get this little red dot, which then opens up the feedback studio. So I was just kind of starting to click around because again, I haven't seen this from a student's perspective before. But it will show me as a student exactly like how much has been flagged as copy, as it should be, because I literally just copied and pasted this from Wikipedia. So, and it does, as Chris wanted me to show you, it does get down into some like really nitty gritty details on where things have come from. And, you know, your choice as a teacher, like how far deep you get into this. But I do think that this is, you know, when we talk all the time about digital citizenship and how those things are just kind of embedded in your day-to-day teaching, this is a digital citizenship piece for me going through this process. Like we have a way for us to tag this and to look at it.
Yeah, and I feel like in a couple of teachers expressed this shouldn't be an aha moment. This nor should this really be, I'm going to catch you. This, I feel like Nicole said, should be information. As a student, I want to know, I didn't intentionally plagiarize. I may have missed a citation. Help me understand that. And totally. If you want to, Nicole, if you unclick the red and leave just the purple, click that.
This?
Yeah. So that turns off the red. And now I can focus on the purple. And the purple is that grading or the grammar that came through. So as a student, this is where they can go ahead and leverage the grade. Now, of course, there's not much spelling mistakes in grammar because, you know, it was a Wikipedia article, so it was probably well done. Yeah. But a student would typically see, again, it's not an aha moment or it's not a catchy moment. It's you can use this as a student to help inform you to become a better writer.
Right. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay. The other piece we wanted to show you, because I think that this, again, your direct instruction as a teacher to the student should include where do they go to get the data, on turning it in to TurnItIn. So this was through the submission of the assignment, but if I go into the grades category, I also see that I get that little red flag again. And so again, I can go either into the assignment itself, I can go into the grades itself. If I click on the little red flag, it just opens up that same exact window. I don't need to wait for it to load. It just goes right back to here.
So again, by a classroom full of students, it would instantly could see that the student turned in the paper, and then there would be that red flag or the different flags. So the teacher could see that as well. So then I'm going to go back to SpeedGrader, and I know that, so Nicole submitted it. And then what I'm looking for as a teacher is this marker, this percentage. And like we mentioned, it could have probably over an hour. So we left and came back the next day, but now it shows up. So I don't have to go here any further. Like if this was a final submission, I may not spend a dime of time looking to find out why Nicole plagiarized. Typically in a university level, 20% is kind of the threshold for universities' acceptance for plagiarism. High school teachers may have different ones. Middle school may have more or less. I don't know. But the point is, I don't have to go any further. I can see instantly that the student has definitely plagiarized. But again, just like Nicole said, if I click on the 80%, it takes me to TurnItIn. Now, question is, do I have a TurnItIn account? Technically, no, you don't. You actually have the integration through Canvas. So no teacher really in our district will need to go to TurnItIn to log in. Some teachers who've been here for a while had an original TurnItIn account from quite a few years ago. You could still log in. We haven't turned that off. But for the rest of our staff, you don't need an account. You just go in. And here's the beauty. If I had more than one student submit, I don't have to keep going back to SpeedGrader and go to the next student. I could actually just stay here in Feedback Studio or in Plagiarism and TurnItIn and just click this next arrow. It would take me to the next student. So I could sit here and just turn it in just to kind of briefly go through, okay, I want to find out how students are doing and what's going on. And again, I can see the grammar check and see how the students are doing. So it's a beautiful tool. There's a ton more to TurnItIn, and those instructions are on our slides. And I'll also put in the link to the Spanish use of TurnItIn.